Hey everyone, my name is Brieanah, and I'm here with my friend Johanna, and we are hosting the Plant Powered Business Strategies to Grow Your Positive Impact podcast. Welcome, welcome. Today, we are going to be diving into everything AI, what you need to know for your business, how you can use it in your personal life, how it can influence and help you grow your marketing strategies. We're going to cover a lot of tips and tricks in this episode. Quick disclaimer, we are not AI prompt generator experts or anything like that. This is just a look behind the scenes to show you how we're using AI, how we're embracing it, where it's popping up in our daily lives, and how you could maybe start embracing it better too. Um, we are also going to continue the conversation into our plant powered chat on the 27th of January. So if you want to ask us questions or share your own ideas, that's the perfect place to do it. Send us an email or DM us to save your seat for that. Um, and I think I'll do a little teaser too, Johanna, if that's okay with you, to
Yeah, go for
help
it.
people stick around for the whole episode. One of my top tips I learned at a mastermind in Toronto, or excuse me, Vancouver, in Vancouver last year, and it's really juicy on how AI can help you in every aspect of your business. I'll give you the prompt and tell you how to work with AI to really get the most out of it. So stick around for that. All
Cool.
right.
I can't
So
wait for that now.
I've opened the loop for you too.
Yeah.
So maybe, Johanna, it would be helpful to just start with where AI is, how we're using it, like what the tools are. For me, I primarily use ChatGPT, and I know when we say AI, that's the main one people think of. I've even started the subscription side of ChatGPT just to get faster and more elevated prompts. For those that don't know, there are different levels and speeds of ChatGPT. So, the subscription service, kind of like a phone plan, gives you first access to the bandwidth on the app. Um, and I've found it helpful both in personal life and work, and I'll share some more about that later. But I think the other part of AI that I want to stress before I ask you where you're using it is that it's popping up elsewhere too. It's not just ChatGPT, a separate site or a separate app that we go to. Um, and so often people think of just that ChatGPT app and they don't really consider where else AI is popping up. But especially as marketers, for example, we're seeing it at the top of Google searches now, and that impacts where websites are ranking and how people are seeing your information in search engines. So it's popping up in different places that you don't have as much control over, but there are ways to work with it and adapt to this new world that we're in with AI. Um, what about you, Johanna? Where are you seeing it? Where are you using it?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for the introduction, and I'm really happy that we're talking about this because yeah, it's a big part of our lives now, AI, and yeah, just like you mentioned, we're not even like like aware of all the spaces or places, and like in the spaces where I hang out, I feel like there's a lot of kind of fear and insecurity around it, like when it comes to people like fearing losing their jobs or becoming like redundant, or like their skills not needed anymore. And I'm even talking about like very skilled artists and everything, which is not exactly what we're talking here, but um and at the same time, there's so much excitement around it, and especially in the entrepreneurial and marketing space. And yeah, so I'm very happy we're talking about this. And for me too, like in everyday like life, and when I talk about AI, it usually means ChatGPT for me, because that's the main one I use. And I have to be honest, I'm kind of surprised by how big of a part it's become, like in my like everyday work life. It's just been a couple of years, right, since it became a thing. And I want to like talk about that in more detail, like soon. But I also wanted to mention that another tool that I use quite regularly. It's something called speech text AI, and there are others that are similar. So basically, it transcribes your calls. For example, I have like a monthly strategy call with a client. So instead of, back in the day, like having to listen to the recording again, you can just put it in the like software, and it will like transcribe it to you, and then I take it over to ChatGPT to like read it through and give me like the details, like what are the to-dos, like what are the topics we discuss. So this has been like a huge game changer for me. It's something that saves so much of my time, and I love using it like that. And I assume many people do, but I wanted to mention it also because maybe not everybody does. There's also other AI that does something similar, um, and then there's one that I've played around with a little bit that's called Swell AI. You can put like a podcast or a YouTube episode there, and it will give you the transcript and make summaries and even social media caption ideas. I think like I find them a bit boring and generic, like what it what it brings out or generates. But yeah, they can work as a first draft. Um, yeah, so those are some key ones, but ChatGPT, like we could talk about this in more detail, but it's for me, it's become really kind of like almost like I would say like a virtual assistant or kind of like a thought partner. Like I use it for ideation, like research, not so much for first drafts of things as a second draft. Uh, like so many things, like I use it to proofread like text or like analyzing data, different things. But yeah, that's it kind of like in a nutshell. What about you? I'm happy to go into
Yeah,
more detail
yeah,
soon.
let's dive into it.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you started sharing how you use it, and touching on how it doesn't really replace that human element, right? Like you're not using it for the actual writing of things, that back
Yeah.
research, that market research. I also find it helpful because sometimes I'll be sitting down to write something and I'll know what I don't want it to say,
Mm.
but I can't put my finger on what I want it to say. So I'll have it write out a draft for me just so I can see it as like, oh, absolutely, I do not want it to say this,
Yeah.
and kind of reconfirm where I thought I was going anyway, kind of like you said, a thought partner. I'll ask it questions of what do you think of this take on it? Does that resonate with my audience? And of course, you have to give it details about your audience. But what's cool is as you use these tools, they remember and they keep a
Yeah.
log. So I saw someone recently that asked AI to create an image of its interpretation of them based on their conversations. Because AI has that record of what this person does, their interests, their hobbies, etc. So for example, I took that because I thought it was cool and I went and asked AI. It created an image of a woman with animals and a pink barn. I was like, okay, so it got the gist of who I was, right? Um, and I asked it why it thought those things about me. And so it's interesting, like you said, that thought partner aspect to like, well, why do you think those things? Because then you can kind of dive into your customer avatar too, because you're asking AI to think about drafting things with you, think about strategy with you. You start to let AI in on your business, and then that helps you work with AI to speak to your customer a little better. Um, at least I've found. You tell AI some of the pain points that you're seeing. AI does some market research with you or gives you places to look further for market research. And then together you can kind of create that cohesive bridge between your business and your customer with AI's help, just workshopping and conversation. But I think that's the piece that surprised me the most is that it's so conversational, because we're coming from almost analog Google searches of like, can I do this? Or what are people thinking about this? And you have to read and do your own research through sorting the search results, where now I can have a conversation and even voice prompt AI and actually have it talk back to me. So it's like talking to a person and have that conversation to get to where I want to get. Um, so it cuts the time down, but it also helps it feel a little bit more human, even though it's not. And I am emphasizing that it does not replace getting a virtual assistant or actually hiring someone to be that thought partner. But humans thrive on communication so much that being able to talk to a technology this way, I think is what sets AI apart as an integral tool for your business, for your personal life, whatever it may be, however you want to use it, is that you get to almost interact with it how you would a friend.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good point, and I think it's the thing that surprised me the most as well. Like, and it was maybe last autumn that I came across this like somebody I follow on social media who asked to like use this prompt on ChatGPT and like be surprised and like I even started crying like by like how much it knew about you, and it was something like the prompt somehow like based on everything you know about me, what are some of the things you think I don't know about myself, or something, and then another question that went somehow even deeper to you as a person and things that you might be, I don't know, like worried about, like fearful of. And it was shocking like how how well it read me, and this kind of, yeah, it's like it's amazing and exciting at the same time, but I also have to be honest that it like freaks me out a little bit to like think that it like yeah, it knows so much about me, and especially because I do use it as a almost like a, I don't know, like a self-growth or coaching tool to like
Yeah,
ask for like I'm struggling with this like in my business, like what, like how
yeah.
can you help me navigate this? So yeah. Yeah, I'm not.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And I think that's where it can get really tricky ethically, right?
Yeah.
It's I know friends that have tried using AI not in place of, but similar to how you would have a conversation with a therapist,
Mm,
right? So it's like, okay, where are the lines where we like actually do need to say, I've taken AI as far as it can go and I need to go get
yeah.
help or I need to go hire someone if it's in my business. It's a question, and I don't think there
Yeah.
is a lot yet, and it perhaps it's even individual because if it's a minor inconvenience and you're like, I just need someone to talk to about this, I don't want to burden my partner, I don't want to pay for a therapist, it's not that level, whatever it may be, AI can be there as a friend, and then you're not conflicted and burdening a friend. You know, you might say, oh, I always go to this friend with this problem and I feel like I'm just running our friendship into the ground. AI is there, right? Or if you're like, hey, I just need someone to tell me like posting every day is a good idea. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you can hire a whole virtual assistant just to tell you that that's a good, you can get affirmation from AI. So
Yeah.
there are different ways that we can leverage it, but I think you bring up such a good point that we have to be really, really aware with how we're using it and not
Mm,
integrate it so quickly that we look back in 10 years and we're like, wow, we went way too fast, you know?
yeah.
Like it's good to embrace it, but just be very aware and present as you're embracing it and be very comfortable with how much you're sharing with it, what
Yeah.
permissions you're into your life.
For sure. And sorry, I'm like bringing it back to kind of like marketing and kind of business strategy and
Yeah.
everything. I think it's also important to be aware that yeah, like again, that it's not a tool, and like not to like, I don't know, let it give it too much emphasis when it comes to like kind of, I don't know, deep work or big decisions. And like I also met or even guiding you in everything. I'm mentioning this because like at some point I started to pay attention that it agrees with me a lot. And then I was like everything, and that's a great idea. And I was just like, come on, it's like, okay, it's great to great to hear a few times. But and then I like wrote a prompt like, okay, I feel like you're agreeing with me a lot. Like I want you to also like challenge me and give me like other points of view. And because it's like
Yeah.
I'm no technology expert, so I don't understand like how it actually works, and I don't know if anybody understands. But I assume it predicts what you want to hear, and based on like it, So
Yeah. That's where
be
prompts
mindful.
That's where prompts matter so much. Yeah,
Mm.
definitely be mindful. But like you
Yeah,
said, you have to change the prompt.
yeah,
You had to say, "Hey, I want you to take this position," and that's where that awareness comes in of
mm.
you're still the one in charge. You're
Yeah,
still human doing the thinking and the reasoning because you're telling AI what you want, how you want it to interact with you, what you want it to say.
yeah,
Right. Unless you're doing a prompt that's like, hey, let's come up with a week of content together, then that's a little different. But in these larger conversations where you're going through big ideas and you're telling it the position to take, being aware that you're either confirming your suspicions or you're looking for that reason to think the
yeah,
way that you want to think. Like, is it actually challenging you, or is it again just telling you what you want to hear, like you said? And there have been articles and studies about biases that are in
yeah.
the programming and the software of these different AI programs based on the creators,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I've seen different articles that have talked about racial biases, like these image generators generally don't create images of Black people. Um, if they're just left to, hey, this is a person, I need an image of a person, it's usually a white person, unless you tell it, hey, I need different races or specifically what you're looking for. So there are different biases already built into the programming itself. And then you're bringing your own biases by telling it what you want and how you want it to react. So definitely glad you brought that up. It's
Yeah,
something to be aware of as we start using this tool more and more.
yeah, yeah. And it's so good that you mentioned that because also like in our context, like vegans in business and like the it's also very like I haven't used the like used AI to create images so much. I think, well, I haven't had like great experiences. Maybe I'm not good with the prompts, but yeah, I felt like it's very stereotypical, like boring stuff that comes out of there. But also in the context of animals, it can be very problematic, the kinds of biases and like images and like understanding of non-human animals or other species, other creatures that it um, like pushes out. So
And even beyond the images, even
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
writing content
Texts.
for your vegan business.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, like
yeah,
that's where asking it to draft things is really problematic because it doesn't understand the complexities of a food system or
yeah,
the value set or the awareness that an animal has when it goes through slaughter. Like those are things that people have empathy for that AI doesn't. At least not yet. We'll see where the technology grows to, but things to be aware of to not just copy and paste a social post from AI if you're trying to invoke empathy for a species or for I mean, it's veganuary, right? So for an ethical diet change choice in someone, putting your story, your spin into the content is going to mean more to someone than some dry, generic, and perhaps problematic piece of content that would come out of an AI tool.
yeah. Um,
Maybe we should transition to some of the things that we like about
yeah,
AI because we backed
yeah,
it for a little
yeah, yeah,
bit.
true.
There are
So
good things too. There definitely are good things.
yeah.
So do you kick us off?
Yeah, I mean, gonna repeat myself now, but I do love the like transcription, and then like ChatGPT doesn't do that as far far as I know, but like reading through transcriptions or like of conversations, like doing summaries, like picking up like highlights from conversations, like stuff like that, like this kind of time-consuming, repetitive tasks. I find it's like a great tool for those. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And different pieces of software programs that you might already be using in your daily life are rolling out different AI capabilities too. So, for example, like Canva, a lot of people use Canva for creating graphics or creating different social media or marketing things. And Canva has AI components to help you with your designs. It does not replace a designer, but it's there to help you with different things, right? Same with Google. Google has rolled out Gemini. Gemini lives in our inboxes, right? And different Google searches will now have Google AI summaries. So if you're asking Google a question, it'll generally summarize what it finds in the different resources. On the flip side of that, and I know we're trying to get into the positive things, but it's things to think about as you're rolling out a marketing strategy is to be aware of where you're seeing it when you're using it. Well, it might be helpful to get a summary at the top of Google. You have to think about how that impacts your website's ranking because now
Mm.
it ranks below the summary, it ranks below any ads, especially if you're selling products. If someone's looking for that product, the shopping section now pops up first, right? So you'll have summary, shopping section, and then they'll finally get to your website. So different things to be aware of as you're using it and as you're experiencing things that you find helpful as a consumer, to then take a minute and say, okay, as a business owner, then how does this impact me? And just be aware of those. I think too, personally, I really like AI for those conversations that we were saying, just be aware of how you're talking to it. But I think overall, those conversations have been really helpful for me. I think too, in your personal life, being able to use that. For example, I showed a member of my family over the holidays ChatGPT's voice function. There we go, sorry, function. And she then took her granddaughter to the doctor, and the granddaughter's 2. She was getting antsy in the doctor's office, and she was able to ask AI to read her stories to keep the child entertained while they waited for the doctor. So there are aspects of this that are helpful in our daily lives and free up time or enrich our lives in really exciting ways. And I'm excited to see how that develops. And and speaking of what it can do to benefit our lives and our business, I think now's a great time to share that prompt that I promised at the top of the episode. So as I mentioned, this was shared with me at a mastermind, and then I immediately came home and worked on it for myself. So I can speak from experience that it did help in the sense that it gave me insight into ways that I wasn't currently leveraging AI and conversations that I could continue to have with my AI that would eventually benefit my business, depending on how I wanted to use it. So the advice was to introduce yourself to your AI. And personally, I've named my AI. I ask her to help me with different tasks. So this said, introduce yourself and your business. She knows me. So I just recapped what my business is. Ask what it can replace, what it can do, how we can better leverage it in your business and in your life. So if you give it an overview of what you do, what you might be looking to free up, you don't even have to tell it, honestly, if you're not sure what you want to free up, but you can tell it like your ideal day. I want to have more time for my kids. I want to end at 5 o'clock and feel like I accomplished a lot during the day. Those sorts of like high level work-life balance goals you can throw in there too. Um, so just tell it about your life, tell it about your time, what you want, and ask it to list of ways, make a list of ways that it can help you. What AI did for me is it listed about 10 ways. And then it said, do you want help? Do you want to dive deeper into any of these? And I was able to pick from the list and say, hey, let's chat more about this. Or can you give me an example of I think one of them was that it could do market research with me. Said, could you give me an example of what that would look like? What kind of cadence we would be working on? How would I work with you to get more market research for my marketing strategy? So the main prompt is just to introduce yourself, especially if you're brand new to AI and it doesn't have this bank of information about you and your business and your goals yet. To ask it what it can do, how you can best leverage AI for your specific business and the type of day that you want to have on a day-to-day business, day-to-day in your business. And then you can just go deeper and deeper from there.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. I'm definitely gonna do that as well. It sounds really useful. Um, I was thinking about one, like I mentioned earlier, that I use it kind of for second drafts more than first drafts, like ChatGPT. So I thought I would speak a little bit more about that. So
Great.
the main problem I have with AI generated content, as I'm sure you and like a lot of people, is that it is just so generic. And even I feel like even at this point that it knows quite a lot about me and my tone of voice. If I like ask it, 'cause sometimes I try to ask like to create a first draft, it's just like it's just not me, doesn't feel right, doesn't feel good. So what I like to do is that, because I often like, for example, like let's talk about like a social media post or any other content. Like I get this idea. It often happens that I'm just like in the middle of something and I get an idea and then I just like start writing on my computer. But I'm not a very like clean typer, or like I make mistakes, and I don't want to, like I have this problem that if I start to edit, then it just lose the idea, like, and whatever. So I just like to write regardless of how it looks like, and then I put it in ChatGPT, like can you like edit this and like proofread it, and then I get like a better version, or I can ask like, can you give me another angle or like another point about this? So I feel like it like makes the process a bit faster, and sometimes might give me like a new angle, and then I edit it again. So I never ever post or like share something that's AI generated, but it's helped me in the process. And I want to stress this so much that like I think it's very clear that people are getting so tired and exhausted of AI content, and I feel like you can like so easily like smell it and taste it, and I have this strong feeling, and like this message comes from so many spaces where we also like hang out together, that it's like our humanness, it is what like sets us apart, like each and every one of us. And like I really would like our ideas and like unique ways of looking at the world, and I just would really want everybody to believe in that like nothing that we know of like can replace that. And
Yeah.
posts, for example, or any content, it doesn't need to be perfect or polished. Like I would love to see much more of this kind of like spur of the moment, like sharing thoughts. Maybe even like I should maybe even do it more, that I don't even put it in ChatGPT to like proofread it, just like post it. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I would really want people to remember
Yeah,
from this conversation.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's an ongoing period of growth, maybe is the best phrase to use that we're going to have with AI. I
Mm,
mean, we both grew up when the internet was getting big, right? And we all had at-home computers for the first time, and we were doing homework on computers when our parents didn't, right?
yeah.
And now we're coming into a time where like we're being upgraded, if you will. Like if you think of the newest version of the iPhone, like it feels like the newest version of the internet to have all this AI access, because it's changing how we communicate with each other, but how we also access information and experience the world. Um, and so I think we've said this a couple times, that it's a partner, it's a tool, it's a support, it's an assistant. And I think that verbiage is where we really need to emphasize that AI stays in how
Mm.
we think about it. Um, it's not replacing anyone. We're both copywriters, and you'll see a lot of copywriters getting afraid or have fear mongering thrown at them that their jobs are being replaced and removed because AI can just generate content for people now. It's still just an assistant. It is still just a support. It's still just a thought partner. And I say just, but that's really powerful too for business owners and for writers and really anyone to be able to turn to a tool like this and really leverage it is exciting. So I think that the right energy around AI is excitement, cautious excitement maybe, but excitement. And where we go from here, that it's just a developing partnership and that we do so consciously and remembering that we're still people. We're not just automating everything about our lives. We still want to connect desperately with each other. Um, so I think my take-home message from this is just that it's a part of our lives now. It's a big part. It's not going anywhere, but it's only a part. It's not going to replace how I communicate with anyone. It's not going to replace how I want to be communicated with, but it's something that I want to learn to leverage, and want to learn how to embrace as it grows and as its place in my life and my work grows because it's not going anywhere. Um, but I think it's a partnership, and I want to continue to think of it that way.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And to everybody who feels kind of nervous or cautious around it or hasn't like played around like ChatGPT, for example, like I really don't want to tell anybody like what to do, but I would encourage to keep an open mind and yeah, just see what it can do and play around. I mentioned this because I myself I tend to be kind of old school when it comes to technology, and I remember when ChatGPT came, I was very like kind of anti or like suspicious, and I was like, okay, like let people like have their hype. I will catch up at some point and like see what's happening. And to an extent, it did happen like that. But yeah, I've changed my opinion or about it quite a bit, and I think it's good to stay open in. To yeah new technologies because the world is just changing so fast that if you yeah it's good
Yeah,
to keep up. Mm.
absolutely. And I think with that too, there's this ethical component that comes with that and figuring out how we work with it. For example, whenever I do generate an AI image, I always say it was created by AI. I think that transparency
Mm.
is important. We as copywriters have stressed in past episodes transparency and vulnerability, and just having that voice of like, I'm using this, but I'm letting you know that I'm using it. I'm not trying to pull the wool over your eyes and like show up with AI generated content all of a sudden and claim that it's mine. So I think if we continue to use it, which we will, and in different ways we continue to use it, just continually having that transparency of how it's being used, especially in the US when with disinformation campaigns every place you look,
Mm.
be the person that stands out. Be the person that says, this part is AI, the rest is me, and really build that trust with people. And that's what's gonna sift out to the top at the end of the day. Once AI is fully integrated into how everyone interacts on the internet, the people that use it in ethical ways are going to be the ones that have the most trust and have that loyal following. So, as you continue to develop it, I mean, think about policies that you want to have within your business. What are you comfortable with different, whether it's contractors or employees or you yourself, what are you comfortable opting into? What are you comfortable sharing with AI? How do you want it to be used? You get to set the tone on your relationship as a business owner that you have with this tool. And if we're wrapping up, Johanna,
Mm-hmm.
I want to remind people that we are going to have that conversation at the end of this month, another plant-powered chat. And we'll continue to talk about AI if the group that joins us on Monday, the 27th, is interested in continuing this conversation, asking questions about how we're all using AI. Let's chat more about it. Let's go in depth. That's your opportunity to information share and learn what other people are doing too. So definitely send us an email or as a DM if you're interested in joining us. We'd love to have you there. But anything you want to drop in the comments, we're also welcome to engage with you there. We love hearing from you guys, and we really hope that this episode was helpful. And we hope to continue the conversation with you.
Yeah, thanks so much for tuning in, and yeah, do let us know if you have anything to share, and hope to see you at the coffee chat.
All right. Till next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.